Hi guys and welcome back. So I have been continuing my rereading of the Hunger Games series, and today I want to talk about Catching Fire, the second book in the series. And same as for the first one, I was very much surprised of how many things I forgot and misremembered and how different the events and the characters were to as I remembered them. But yeah, before we get into it, please remember to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new here. But yeah, let's get right into the book review. So first of all, what was same as I remembered was that I really liked this book. I like Catching Fire, I like the second book of the series, but I have to say though, I like the first part of the book a lot more than I like the second part. So I'm very much enjoying that kind of aftermath of the first Hunger Games, of them being back in District 12 and kind of dealing with the new reality of life after the Hunger Games, and slowly realizing that, no, the games actually didn't finish and they're still kind of trapped in this situation of now being winners and the dangerous situation of being on the target list of President Snow, basically. So I very much enjoyed this first part of also getting more backstory of the characters and of District 12. And I really enjoyed the book very much, basically up until they enter the arena again. I still very much enjoy them being back at like the training center, them doing the interviews again, and Peter demonstrating his wits, basically. So everything that was, I think, more of like character development, world development, and also politics, I guess. I very much enjoyed. But then when it came to the actual Hunger Games, I have to say that it felt, number one, it felt a little bit, a repeat from the first Hunger Games. And number two, I just wasn't that much into it anymore because I kind of knew that, they would have to survive for the story to go on. And I don't think that's only because I've read all the books already. I think I would have thought about it the same way if it was a first read. And then the third thing with the Hunger Games was they kind of felt a little bit over the top. So I feel like Susan Collins here, she got just, kind of thinking that because this is the second book, because this is the second time that she is showing these Hunger Games, they have to be so much more impressive than the first time. And that's why all these like mechanics came in with the clock in the arena and with all these different kind of horrible things that happen in the different locations of the arena. And I thought it was very confusing and just a little bit too much, all of it. So for me, definitely the first part of the book is much stronger than the actual Hunger Games. And I am happy that the actual games are not taking up that big of a part of the book, and more is spent on this kind of first part where they talk more about their backstory, basically, and about them dealing with the new situation that they find themselves into. But yeah, let me first get into the plot a little bit and some thoughts that I wrote down during this rereading that I thought worth mentioning. So first of all, I didn't really remember that, Katniss actually decided to start a rebellion and to go against the capital before this whole situation with Gale happened, and then they suddenly having to go back into the arena. But she actually kind of made up her mind to go against the capital, to start a rebellion before this whole thing even happened. And I did not remember that at all. So, good for her that she actually wanted to take action before it was decided that she had to go back into the arena. Then number two that I wrote down here is like whatever happened to her pregnancy. It's never really mentioned anymore after Peter announces that she is pregnant. Falsely announces that she is pregnant. I think it's like briefly mentioned again in the games where Finnick says she's supposed to be pregnant or something like that. But it's not really mentioned anymore. We also don't get like the point of the view from the outside in this book. And I feel like by the end of the book, this kind of plot point was just completely forgotten and not being touched upon anymore at all. I think it is kind of a pity, because it was such a genius point of Peter to try to avoid the games, and then just, not being mentioned at all anymore, and, could have kind of shown the outrage of the capital population during the games about this girl that apparently has to take part in the Hunger Games while being pregnant, but it's not brought up at all anymore, and I found that a little bit a waste of a great plot point. Now, one of the bigger issues with the book, and I'm sure there's some reason for it, and I thought about it for quite a while. So why did they not try to save them before they got into the arena? Because them having to go in the arena, what was clear that at least part of them or some of them would be killed in the arena. And I imagine it would have been much easier for the people from District 13 to save them and get them out of the districts, rather than get them out of a highly secure and controlled arena in the Hunger Games. And then, I was thinking about it. It's like, okay, maybe the rebellion, they actually wanted to save them out of the games as to make a bigger impact and to get the rebellion rolling. But I would assume that the government, for most of the capital, for most of the broadcasting of the events and the Hunger Games, they would just not broadcast whatever happens, right? Of course, they were not able to, in the end, kind of cover up that they got away, that Katniss got away, and a few other tributes got away. But still, I think it would have been much easier to get them out before the games and start the rebellion immediately. Like, let me know in the comments below where my mistake in my trail of thoughts here is. But I really think that's kind of a big plot issue here. And then another thing that bugged me a little bit, as I've just finished reading the first book as well, is like in the first book, when Haymitch sends Katniss the medicine for her burned leg, he's able to attach a note to it, like to how to apply it, right? And then in the second book, when he is sending them the spine, I don't know, for them to get some water out of the trees, they have to kind of figure out what it is used for, and he was not allowed or able to attach a note to this, and I thought that kind of a weird consistency issue. Now that I actually think of it, I'm not quite sure anymore if that was actually in the first book that he was able to attach a note, or if that was only in the movie. So see how I sometimes get confused with movie and book plot, and that just keeps happening to me. But let me know in the comments below what the actual situation was with that kind of note. I talked about this this setup of the arena and how complex everything is with the cornucopia and with the kind of clockwork mechanism, and I find it a little bit far-fetched for them to kind of think of all of that, and then at the same time, just pointing the cornucopia towards 12 o'clock, so that the tributes would be able to figure out what the situation is actually like. Like, why would they do that? And I just pointed somewhere different to make them even more confused. Like, did they want them to figure out the workings of the arena? Is that why they made it possible for them? But I really have some issues with the setting of the arena in the second book here in Catching Fire. I like the simple setting in the first book, with only like the mutations being some unique park that was thrown into the arena, but other than that, it was just this kind of normal woody area basically. But the arena in Catching Fire is just absolutely over the top for my liking. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the characters and character development. So what is also actually funny is I completely forgot that in the books they made Gale to be seen as her cousin, and I found that absolutely hilarious for some reason. And they kind of stopped mentioning it after that. It comes up again in the third book, which I'm currently rereading. but it's not really mentioned that often, except for in the end, and they're just completely pissed at especially Gail as being, called her cousin when he's in love with her. So I completely forgot about that. What I also forgot about, talking about Gail, how much of a selfish idiot he is. Like, it's so annoying reading any scene that he is in, because he's just so selfish and moody, and he just cannot accept the fact that Peter is here, and that there are bigger things and more horrible things to worry about right now than being rejected by, the girl that he loves. And that's just, I don't know, I really hate Gale in this whole book series so far. Like, I cannot understand why anybody would ship Gale and Katniss. Like, no way. While we're talking about one of the love interests, let's talk about the other one. Let's talk about Peeta. Peeta, who is one of my absolute favorite characters, as basically only in the first book. Here also in the first part of the book, he's still kind of interesting. He is, I absolutely love where his determination and his strength when he is convincing Haymitch and Katniss to train like careers for the Hunger Games and to get them ready. And he is determined to keep Katniss alive. And I really love how he behaves in the first part of the book. But then as soon as we get into the arena, he is worse than useless. He can't do anything, to the point where I think Susan Collins basically forgot that he is there. Like, he's not even allowed to speak any lines anymore. He's whenever we hear about him, it's only him, being in trouble, him messing up, and it's just how weak he is and how unable he is to contribute anything useful to the group, basically. And I think that she just did him so dirty in this book, and it only gets worse in the third one, but let's talk about that in the next movie. I love Peeta in the first book. I really still very much enjoyed him in the beginning of this one, but then it just, completely flipped, and it's a pity what she has done with that character. Absolutely. I do still, let's talk about Katniss as well. I do still like how Katniss is in this book. She is very determined to just save Peter, and she doesn't care about anything else basically anymore. So to the point where she's, very heartless and thinking about, okay, now would be the best situation for killing Finnick, basically. So she already kind of liked Finnick as a person, but she's like, well, I gotta take him out at some point. Now is the best way time to do it. So she's very much focused on that one part, like, let's Peter survive. And then when it comes to the situation in the end where she thinks she is not able to keep him alive anymore, and where she thinks that he will be tortured, basically, her only thought is, okay, let's take the pain away from Peter, and I have to be the one to kill him as painless as possible. Like, that is amazing determination. That is amazing show of strength to even have that kind of thought and plan to just go in there and kill a person because you don't want them to suffer more, basically. What is also interesting after, just reading the prequels, number one, like having read Ballad only a few weeks ago, for me, it's just, again, a very hard time believing that this President Snow is the same as the Snow guy, Coriolanus Snow, from the prequel, because I think their character traits are so different, and there's no connection there. And the only thing that still is the same is they're just both two horrible people and just complete trash human beings. But other than that, I don't see them sharing any similar in character. For the other one, though, for Haymitch, and I really very much enjoyed Haymitch's prequel, Sunset on the Reaping, and I'm looking very much forward to that movie coming out soon. Also, recently I've seen some pics for the actors for that movie. I think it's going to be a great movie. And for Haymitch, I think there's a lot of consistency in his character from the prequel to Catching Fire, and also in Catching Fire we get the kind of backstory about his Hunger Games, when we see Peeta and Katniss on the train watching Haymitch's Hunger Games, and it seems to be matching well with the story points that she then has used to write this full prequel about Haymitch, and his character also. I think it's very much on point. So I think there she did a great job. With Ballad again, I don't think she did a good job, and with the consistency of Snow's character, I also think she didn't do a very good job there. So there's actually one thing I have to complain about the Sunset on the Reaping with Haymitch's prequel. So what I found weird is that at Haymitch's Reaping, like in the beginning, there's this guy that is being selected as a tribute, and then he's running away, he's getting killed, and like none of that is mentioned when Peeta and Katniss rewatch the games. And there's also the other thing that with Luella McCoy, that she's being thrown out of the chariot in the beginning in the parade and died. And there's no mention of that either. It could be that, again, it's just not being broadcast because the Capitol was able to kind of cut that out. But otherwise, I would have found it a little bit weird that was no mention at all when Katniss and Peeta rewatched those games. Yeah, other than that, again, Catching Fire, still one of the books I very much enjoyed in this series. I also loved that movie, by the way. But yeah, let's see what Mockingjay brings. I'm soon gonna finish my rereading of Mockingjay, and that will be the next review on here. Please let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on Catching Fire, what your thoughts are on, what I think about it. Maybe I didn't catch something, maybe I misunderstood something. Please let me know. Please correct me in the comments below. And otherwise, yeah, thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Bye, guys.